Yeah, what's up, everybody? All right, here we go. So, how we doing, people? Hope everyone's well. Hello. Good morning. It's like a nice day today. So, hit the like button if you haven't already. That would be really appreciated. So, what shall we talk about? Thank you for the like, whoever that is. Nice one. What's everybody up to today? Don't know what I'm really doing yet, but just gotta see how it goes today, I guess. See what I might do a gym session. Not too sure yet, but yeah, I could do that, I guess. All right, what's going on, Liza? Like nobody's saying anything. I came on last night and like nobody hardly shown up, so yeah, so I went off a bit early, but it's up to you guys. You know, if people don't want to say anything or anything, then I'll just go. So yeah, but whatever. You know, it's just trying to grow this channel and try and get more engagement and stuff, but it's gonna be a bit slow and boring at times. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions like about health and fitness and things like that, then let me know. Yeah, so I got 2 people here now apparently, so welcome in, 2 of you that are watching. Hope you're doing well today. So what's everybody's plans for today then? So yeah, I've just been trying to like do a lot of like, trying to practice my pull-ups and stuff like that and get better at it, because it's one thing I've been struggling with. Obviously, being taller, it does make it more challenging. When you've got extra body weight and stuff, and it just, especially when you have extra body weight where it's not needed for that movement, like in your legs, especially if you train your legs quite hard, that you're adding all this extra weight to your legs, and then it's going to make it that much more challenging to do. So anyway, hope everyone's well, but you just gotta keep trying, keep persisting with it. But I suppose the point is that don't compare yourself to others, because someone else might be quite short, and it's easy for them. It's like I've seen some guy who was like quite short and he looks quite skinny as well, and he could do like, I think it was like 14 reps or something, and it's like, but that's because he weighs next to nothing. It's like it was skinny and it was very, very lean as well. So it's like if you got the combination of that, you're probably going to find it pretty easy. But if you're taller and you're carrying around all this extra mass, it's gonna add to the difficulty. And it's like a lot of people still don't seem to understand that some people it's gonna be a lot more difficult. It's like take for example the Dutch giant. He's 7'2" and he can only do 2 pull-ups, and he's really strong, but yet he can only do 2 pull-ups. And I don't think he's like fat or anything. He's just massive. He's like literally like the Dutch giant. He's like is a massive bodybuilder, and he's like but he struggles with pull-ups. Of course, he's a very extreme example, but the point is the taller you get, the more difficult it gets. And Emily, how you doing? And the thing is, I think they were saying it even goes exponentially more difficult as you get taller as well. When like pull-ups are going to be a lot, it's going to be more of a challenge. You've got extra range of motion, and then you've got extra weight that you're having to lift. But yeah, that's the thing with it. It's just people don't seem to appreciate the difficulty that some people are going to have with these sort of movements, and they just kind of like look down to, oh, you can only do like 2 pull-ups or something. It's like, well, yeah, but that's relative to your height and stuff. It's like, if say a short guy could only do 2 pull-ups and he's really lean, then yeah, he's pretty weak. Then I could argue it's all perspective, and it's like it's context. But a lot of people just don't seem to understand the nuances of things, and they're just kind of when they say, oh, every man should be able to do 10 pull-ups. Not every man. There's literally people out there like for example the Dutch giant who's 7'2". He's not going to be able to do 10 pull-ups. Maybe if he trained specifically for that for many, many years, maybe he could, but some people it's just not really on the cards for them to do high reps of calisthenic stuff. We just have to accept that and just play to your strengths, I guess. It's like, I'm not saying you can't get good with it if you're, fairly tall. You can, but it's going to be harder. Not to just sugarcoat and pretend like, it's going to be harder. But there is things that taller people are going to be better at. Like, for example, rowing. Rowing is generally more suited for taller people. Longer limbs is better for it. More power you can generate through longer limbs. You've got more force that you can put through it, with longer limbs. So, and same with like sprinting as well. I think they generally tend to be taller as well. But it's like, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, what I'm saying, and we shouldn't be trying to compare to each other because it's all relative. It just seems like there's a lot of like snobby people in the fitness, community and stuff who think that unless you can do certain numbers, some arbitrary numbers, it's like, unless you can do a 225 bench or a 100-kilogram bench, then then you're weak, even though only about 1% of people can actually do a 100-kilogram bench press. In the general population, only about 1% can actually do a 100-kilogram bench press. But yet they act as though loads of people can do it, and that unless you can do that, then therefore you're not a real gym bro or whatever. It's just bullshit. It's like, not everyone's going to be able to do that. And that doesn't matter, Yeah, someone's just put a comment saying I'll ruin my back with that technique. Well, I actually just watched a video saying that the opposite, saying that basically that rounding of the back, actually, as long as it's prepared for it, is actually okay. This was on a channel, I think it was a Eugene Theo. He was talking about how there's a lot of fear mongering around that technique or something, but that's just the technique that I use because it's just, it's not as rounded, I guess, as it used to be, but I just kind of, that's just what I have to do basically, because it's just it just makes the movement I guess, more efficient. If I'm trying to like lift heavy weight, then I don't want to be like trying to like because otherwise I'd have to basically I don't know. It's all to do with like um, trying to kind of like be more efficient with the movement, and it's hard to explain to people that don't really understand this stuff. But basically, it's just it all has to do with like leverages and stuff, and like you'll see there's people out there like powerlifters and stuff, and strongmen who do use some rounding of the back to actually. I'm not saying that it's good to have excessive amounts of rounding, but like a certain amount, I think is actually okay. I guess if your lower back is strong and it can withstand that. I mean, it might be good to actually do certain exercises where you actually round your back to kind of get used to that movement, because unless you're putting yourself in some really extreme position, then because it's like some people will do like say when they're doing manual lifting, there is a certain way of doing it, but it all comes down to like I think a lot of it comes down to like extremes. Like if people are doing extreme things, or they're not there's not any like they're just kind of mindlessly just lifting without really um being careful and just slowly trying to lower themselves down and kind of and then they end up kind of something kind of goes wrong there. But I've not had any. I mean, I did notice I had a bit of like in my lower back when I first started, because it wasn't used to that kind of movement. It wasn't used to being bent up that much, and I think a lot of it just comes down to like it just kind of learns to do things the right way, I guess, over time, and just it gets stronger and stuff. But I mean, it's like there's people out there that have there was someone talking about, they said that they ruined their back or something trying to do deadlifting, but I was asking if they were doing anything wrong with it, but I don't think they even said that they did. Certain things could just happen, I guess, depending on if there's weaknesses there or something. But I mean, I don't know. It's just, I mean, a spine flexion is like a natural movement. So you would think that like some degree of spinal flexion is actually natural and something that can help us. But according to some people, that's bad technique or something. I mean, I was looking actually at the Eddie Hall and what is it, the other one, Thor. I think they used some degree of rounding. Now, yeah, a lot of them aren't the safest, but I mean, I don't know how often they get injuries doing that stuff. I don't think I've heard much about them getting injuries, but it's like, is it really that risky to like have some rounding of the lower? I mean, I've heard the lower back is the worst to get. But it's like, but when been trying to, I did it the other day. I felt nothing wrong with like the back when doing that. I'll kind of just like go with whatever I feel like is right for me. A lot of people go on about keeping your core tight and all that stuff, but it's like if I'm having to try and be mindful of that, it just might make a less efficient movement for me. Like I don't know, like if I'm having to focus all my energy on trying to brace my core, then less energy is actually going to go into actually lifting the weight or something. And it's because it's like I don't know, it's hard to really kind of try and consciously try and brace it while you're trying to lift some really heavy weight, I mean, yeah, I think maybe bracing it's a good if you want to work the core and try and improve, like, this whole thing of like what they call it anti-extension. It's good for like building the core, building core strength. It's like when you're doing like a plank or something, or push-ups with a straight back. But like, I don't know, like, I mean, maybe some people might have certain issues if they use, bad form on it, but like, I don't know, it's just, I seem to have gotten away with a lot of stuff, like, I don't know. I guess it depends if you've got pre-existing injuries or just some weakness there to begin with. If there's not any of that there, then I personally don't think it really matters that much. I just would like listen to my body and be like, okay, I'll just kind of like just gotta be a bit careful if I'm starting to feel like there's something. Like one time I did a deadlift and I did feel like there was, something up in the lower back or something. Maybe I was rounding it a bit too much. But like I was comparing like two pictures, and I had like I actually had more rounding in the first one. So I think I've actually gotten a little bit less rounding, I guess, since then. In fact, if I might actually I could put a post up and show the before and after. I think you would argue there's less rounding in the second one. I guess it's just that my core has just gotten a bit more used to being straight. So it's just one of those things that I guess it'll just, if it's meant to be straight, it'll just kind of probably just gradually happen over time. But I've not had any problems with form, like, I mean, not with form, I mean, as in like, not had any problems with so-called bad form, really, apart from just, I had a little bit of like, feeling of something in the lower back when I first started doing deadlifting. I was like, there was like a little kind of, like a nerve or something or whatever. It was probably because it was just in a bit more like a stretched kind of position or something. It was bit stressed or something, and I felt like, okay, I should probably not keep going with this, because I remember I did a few sets one time and it started to feel like it was kind of getting a bit weak, and it was because deadlifts are not something that I tend to do a whole lot of usually. I mean, I would just kind of do it to just test how strong I am, basically. That's mainly what I would do deadlifts for. I don't really use them as a way to build muscle, because it's more posterior chain. You're just going to end up with big glutes or something, and it doesn't necessarily work your quads that well. Whereas with, say like a high bar squat, it works it more in a balanced sort of way. You're going to get quads, you're going to get your, like, or even just body weight squats. If you do them intensely enough, you're going to work a bit more balanced. Whereas with deadlifting, you would then have to add some other movement, like like maybe like a sissy squat or a leg extension or something like that, to try and balance it out. So you've got more quads there as well. Because with deadlift, it's more posterior chain, and if you neglect quads and you're doing that a bit, then you're just going to end up with a big butt, and it's just going to make you look like a woman if you're a guy. I guess it's all right if you're a woman. You might want to focus more on posterior chain, but you actually probably want some quad. I guess some might want some quads as well. Oftentimes they'll do things like glutes, and they'll also do things like adductors and abductors and things like that, to try and work on their like hips and things like that. So, but it's like there's this whole thing of like the hourglass shape and all that, and yeah, I think I'm gonna probably restart the live, because there's just no one hardly coming in here. So yeah.